Hello, hi there guys, this is Swanim and welcome to Slime Codes. In today's video, we'll be quickly going over some basic pathfinding that I've added to my RTS game. So let me just show it to you guys. Now, if I select these units, click at a place, then you can see that they clearly move to that location as a unit. And now, if I was to select some place like this, then they will just dodge this whole building and not go with it, even though that might seem like the best path. So this is how I have implemented pathfinding for now. It's quite simple really, but the method that I use is not pretty suitable for dynamic games, but it's still quite feasible and quite interesting to use. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do it, and it's the internal method of pathfinding. So I'll be showing you this method of pathfinding until I start to work on my 3D tutorial, which will be covering A star and the complete pathfinding tutorial. So first let me explain what is pathfinding. And pathfinding is the act of finding the perfect path to move between point A to point B, that is the start point and the end point, which in this case is the position of the unit to the position of the cursor where I just right click. So we'll be moving between those 2 points using the best path, which is not obstructed by any obstacles, and it is the shortest. So these are the few things to keep in mind about pathfinding. So that's all. And moving on, let me show you how I've implemented it. I've used a navigation 2D and a navigation polygon instance 2D. We'll just say nav. Now I have navigation 2D over here, and I can just do nav polygon instance. We just type in the names, search for them. Okay, so going to the navigation polygon instance, create a new navigation polygon, and just go and click over here at all the 4 corners of your map, or wherever the corners are. You can just create any kind of shape like this. So I'm just gonna go back like this, and remember this green tool is the one that you'll be using. And it's done. So now zooming in, let's select it once again and just make a rectangle around the building. So this is done. We can just select the green tool again, and it should be quite easy to do it. Yes, it is done. So as you saw, this is how you create the whole map. This is how you set up a navigation 2D. And that's all that you need to do to set it up. Let me show you the one that I've already set up. This is the one, and it's called nav, and this is polygon. Now the script that I'm using for now is using hard-coded path. So I just say get viewport, get node, world nav. So we get the viewport of which the child is the world and whose child is nav. So I've just hard-coded it through, and we are just getting the simple path from it. And I'm using the to move to get the right click position, and then I'm using a vector2 to add a random value to it so that all the units are placed at a different position rather than clustering at the same position and not being visible. So this is just for testing purposes. If you want to add group pathfinding, you can just add offsets to it, check if it's in a group, add unit management systems, and a whole lot of stuff that's, well, quite cool. I'll probably be adding all that in my 3D tutorial, but for now, this is all that I'm going to do. So moving on to how I've set it all up. I have a few variables. These are those: move p, and it's move path, move on path, or whatever you like to call it. And it will be set to false. And whenever it's set to true, it will just get us the path, set the initial position equal to position, and set the move p to false. And if the path size is greater than 0, then we will just move towards from initial position to the first point on the path using delta as, well, the time, or the delta of the time between the frames. And in the move towards function, we're just gonna get the distance between them, we are going to normalize it, and we are going to multiply it with speed, and then multiply it to the normalized vector. So, well, there's a much easier way to do it, but why I've done it like this is because of the understanding purposes. Now, you can understand it like this. If there are two vectors, the distance between the two vectors is the difference between the vectors. So, if you just normalize the distance between two vectors, then you get the unit direction vectors pointing from vector 1 to vector 2. And then all that you need to do is just multiply it with delta and then speed, and then add it to the position. Then you will just move in the direction that the vector is pointing towards, or difference vector is pointing towards. That is the first point vector. And then you can just check for the distance squared. I'm getting the distance squared because it's much cheaper to get, and I'm checking with 9, whose under root is 3, so I'm actually checking it with 3. And then I can just say path remove 0, so the first point will be removed, and then the 0th will become then the path 0 will become the second point, and thus will move towards the second point, and the initial position will also be changed. So, well, that's a whole lot to understand, and if you did not understand any of this, just put it down in the comment section. I will explain it in a different way, or the way that you might understand, but this is the best way, I believe, to explain all of this. And then I have this move unit point function. This sets up the point, or the move to point, and sets move p to true. So this is all that this function does, other than having a few variables which, well, don't matter much. Now, moving on to the next script that I've edited is the camera movement script, which now has var move to point, and this move to point is changed by right click, and as I showed you in the last video, go to project settings, go to input map, and add a new action, right button, and then just set it to mouse global position, and then emit the signal. I've connected the signal over here, and it's just connected the same way as before. And it's connected to the world manager. So going to the world manager, you can see this function over here, start move selection object. So you will just say UN are all the units in the selected units, and you'll just call on all the UNs the move unit function and pass in the move point. And that's how we just simply do whatever we want to do. And that concludes this tutorial, and I will probably be ending this tutorial right here. If you have anything more that you want to request, then, well, you can probably put that in the comment section as well. But I don't really want to continue this 3D tutorial because we have work to do on the 3D tutorial, and I also have to continue the RPG series, which is pretty important at the moment. And I hope you all liked the video. If you did, please like, and if you want to watch more of this videos, watch my 3D tutorials, or anything like that, like shaders and all that stuff, just subscribe. And with all that done, if you have any feedback, put it down in the comments, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.